How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Tales from the Darkside. This is Season 2, Episode 11, and this one's entitled Effect and Cause. This is from December 8th, 1985, directed by Mark Jean, and stars Susan Strasberg, Ben Marley, and Judith-Marie Bergan, and is written by Michael Kube-McDowell, who we've seen on the show before, and this time he gets a solo writing credit, and yeah, good to see him back. In this episode, a woman, a artist, is in a house that is in a state of disrepair, but she soon discovers it's not just the house that's broken, it's time and reality itself that is broken, and yeah, things are going to start to get pretty trippy. The first clue is an ambulance shows up at her house and asks for the woman with the broken leg. But no one in the house right now is injured. However, shortly after the paramedics get here, she falls, trips, breaks her leg. And now there is someone with a broken leg. The effect came before the cause. And she starts to experiment with these and see if she can control it, but we're talking about time and reality here. These aren't really the greatest forces to influence, and of course, things start to get worse and worse. Overall, this is a really nice, trippy Darkside episode. If you guys like things like Donnie Darko or John dies at the end, you'll probably like this one as well. I know those movies aren't for everybody, and there is going to be some people that look at this episode and just say, well, that's weird. But if you guys like the trippier stuff, this is definitely a good example of that. And I don't know what you call it, but that whole thought experiment subgenre, it kind of really took off with The Matrix, you know, that scene where he visits the Oracle and she says something about him breaking a vase and then he drops it and she goes, would you have done that if I hadn't have said anything? Very similar to ideas in this episode. So it's cool to see Darkside doing a subgenre that wouldn't really be popular for another 20 years or so. Always good to see Darkside a little bit ahead of its time. And there's some interesting ideas in here, you know. The idea of the paramedics showed up, there must be someone hurt in the house, so there's someone hurt in the house. The idea that our expectations influence reality. If we see the effect, we can assume the cause, and how much does our perception influence the world around us, you know? If you expect something, you'll get it, right? And then you get the whole idea of observation helping secure something in place in reality. This guy sets down his car keys, and the moment he sets them down, out of sight, out of mind, the car keys disappear. You weren't thinking about them, they cease to exist, you know? Out of sight, out of mind, car keys disappeared. So there's some interesting concepts holding reality in place. I mean, how many times do we see a trailer or go to the movies and then look up people on YouTube talking about it, because you don't just sit there and watch a movie and then don't think about it. You have to observe things. You have to talk about them. You have to hold them in place. And, you know, where is our relationship to the world we inhabit in regards to observation, and how stable is reality, you know? So there's some interesting, trippy ideas in here, and, you know, yeah, a lot of people aren't really going to care for them, but, you know, if you're into this sort of stuff, this is a good episode for you. Bear in mind, this is mid-80s TV, so it doesn't get too terribly big and crazy. I mean, the finale is pretty fun, but most of the effects are going to be turn the camera off, switch something, turn the camera back on, add a sound effect, and that's going to get a lot of your mileage there. This is also only a 22-minute episode, as all Darkside ones are, and this is definitely concepts and ideas that are worth talking about for quite some time, and I could definitely see this episode being expanded on, and the ideas talked about more. So yeah, sort of a time reality philosophy episode. Lots of interesting things, not gonna be for everybody, but I did find it interesting enough, you know? Now, all that being said, good dreamlike atmosphere in here as well. You know how in a dream you'll be in one place and then it'll switch to another? I do like that element as well. So yeah, I could definitely recommend this episode to the right crowd, but I can totally see it not being for everybody. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to analyze the plot a little deeper. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding of the episode. So I'm going to go ahead and analyze it a little deeper, but I'll be avoiding the end bits. Anyway, we open up with this painter and her dancer friend is coming to visit. The dancer, the painter, they're both artists, but different kinds of artists. You know, one's work is much more ephemeral, you know? So the painter and the dancer are talking, and he's brought in over a bunch of old canvases that he got at like an estate sale or something, I guess. And they both agree that the paintings on them aren't very good, and the dancer says, hey, you need money, just paint over these canvases. But she doesn't really want to do that. She thinks it will be bad luck, but eventually he talks her into it. Note that this setup, the idea of one reality being painted over, that's going to come into play later. But anyway, after that, she goes upstairs for something, and the dancer hears sirens outside. So he wanders over to the door, and he's looking, well, wanders over to the window, rather. He's looking out there, and he's wondering which house the ambulance is going to go to, when to his surprise it comes to their house. He opens the door and they say, we're here for the woman with the broken leg, but it's just the two of them here and none of them are hurt, so he's initially quite confused. And when the painter girl comes down the stairs to see what's up, she trips and falls down the stairs and breaks her leg. One of the paramedics will joke, oh ma'am, you didn't have to do that on our account, but she obviously didn't mean to do it. And it's going to trip her out, no pun intended, that the paramedics got here before the thing that was supposed to happen. The effect came before the cause. Now she has this sister. The sister is a businesswoman, she's mature, and when you start wanting to talk to her about things like this, she's just going to say, that's silly, don't think about it, and she's going to try to push those thoughts out of her head. But she can't help but wonder, if the paramedics hadn't have gotten here, would I have fallen down the stairs? And after that, she's at her house and she's hobbling around. You know, she's going to have crutches and a cast on. She's going to have her mobility impaired as reality starts to go nuts. But the next big event is when a grocery person comes to her house with a delivery. And she goes, I didn't do this. Did my sister do this? And the delivery guy's like, I just deliver the food, I don't know. And he takes the bags to the kitchen and he reads off what she ordered. And the painter says, no, I have all this. But as she opens the door, the stuff he reads off starts to disappear from the cabinets in the fridge. You know, the whole idea of, if the grocery boy is here to give me a new can of this, then I must not have any. Perception change reality. I must need this or I wouldn't have had it come to me, and all the stuff in the fridge just starts to disappear. So yeah, you know, sort of a trippy thought thing, you know. So she sends the grocery boy away, calls her dancer friend back, and says she's been experimenting. She lays out a deck of cards and says, okay, you know that there's like 52 options for what could be in this deck, but I never showed you the faces before I shuffled. You've never really seen this deck before. I could have got some weird kids game. There could be anything on the other side of these cards. And she says, concentrate. I want you to expect to see something that you've never seen before. So the dancer does this, and he flips over some cards and he gets things like the Seven of Clocks and the King of Frogs. And he's like, what are you practicing a magic trick or something? This is really weird. And she goes, no, I told you to expect something different. You got something different. And of course the cards will change back when they look at them again. And yeah, so she's starting to experiment, starting to try to control, try to figure this out. But we're talking time and reality. This is going to be quite the futile effort in the long run. And observation, perception, she's the only one there to hold reality together through those long nights by herself. So she's alone in the house, she's hobbling around, and she's the only one there to hold reality together. Things are gonna get pretty crazy, and the finale to this one does build up to be something interesting, you know? So yeah, a pretty good climax. Overall, this is definitely one that I think, you know, I would love to see like a modern art house remake of it. I would love to see this given more time to sort of elaborate on its ideas. And I think, you know, it's going to be a little hard, you know, these concepts just introducing wacky thought experiments and being all done within 22 minutes. Yeah, it's not going to be the easiest for everyone to get on board with this episode. Overall, though, I did find it interesting and I did like it. And not the best thing ever, definitely could have been elaborated on. But overall, an interesting episode doing the trippy thought experiment thing well before it was popular. I thought it was a really good episode, and I definitely can't wait to dive into the next one. So overall, I definitely would recommend this to the right crowd. Really interesting ideas in here. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Tales from the Darkside playlist. I've talked about all the past episodes, the Christmas episodes, the first season overview, the Joe Hill comic. The playlist is getting kind of long, so if you want to see me talk about more Darkside, you can find that there. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.